Okay, perfect. So in terms of the agenda for today, we're going to start with a brief report back on our recent progress, a discussion looking forward at what we hope to achieve this year, and then followed by a roundtable discussion for anyone on the call to share what they're working on, or if you have ideas on how we can collaborate as a network, that would be awesome. So for those of you who were at our last national call, you'll remember that the focus was really on sharing our respective plans for World TB Day. So it was really great to see all of those plans come to life. And I'll just start by taking the first couple minutes to report back on the amazing impact that our network had for World TB Day. Just share my screen. All right, so here you can see a collage highlighting the record 38 landmarks and monuments across the country that were lit up in red, as well as 5 mayor proclamations for World TB Day on March 24th. So that was really awesome. Our network also participated in several events for World TB Day, including our Together Against TB webinar with Partners in Health and Results Canada, which included Priya and Tina from the Stop TB Canada Steering Committee as speakers. So that was really awesome. We also had a York University webinar, which was organized by our intern Amal, and Dr. Robin Waite, who's on the call, also participated at the McGill TB Research Day. She presented a session on advocacy, as well as many other events held by our members. Our network also used this opportunity to share their voice through several op-ed publications. And we now have a page on our website for op-eds and papers published by our network. So feel free to reach out and share any publications of your own related to TB, and I'd be happy to add them to that list. I'll also just add that feel free to do the same for any resources that you feel should be on our resources page. So you can just email at hello@stoptbcanada.com. And our network also worked to engage with politicians and educate them about TB. So in addition to 5 meetings with members of parliament across the country, we also sent letters to the Minister of Health, Minister of International Development, and the Minister of Indigenous Services, calling on Canada to really scale up its efforts in the fight to end TB, specifically Canada to maintain its investment in TB Reach, and to update the epidemiological profile of TB in Canada, which we are going to dive into in a bit more detail shortly. So that's kind of an overview of our World TB Day activities and outreach. One thing that we've also been working on recently is our annual report. So I'll just briefly run through that as well, and we can share the link in the chat for our annual report. But this report really celebrates our impact and our growth from March 2020 to March 2021, which includes the relaunching of many of our communications channels, all that have really seen a steady growth in engagement the last couple of months. Like I mentioned, the creation of our steering committee, the design and implementation of webinars and events, including our World TB Day events that I mentioned, our political engagement, and then also the collection of critical data to understand the impact of COVID-19 on TB. And I'm just going to pass it over to Lena to dive into this study that the network is working on right now.
Sure, thanks, Lee. So yeah, given the impact that COVID has had on TB programs globally, which we've also seen with the global survey that was done beforehand, we're now trying to assess that impact on TB programs in Canada. So we're doing 3 separate surveys, one for TB program leads, one for TB program staff, and one for TB patients to see whether they feel that the TB services have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Thanks, Lena. And now we're going to shift towards looking ahead at our plans for the year. And I'm going to pass it over to Adam Graham, who's going to run us through our pitch document that we've just put together, as well as our proposed budget and the activities that we're hoping to implement this year.
Thank you very much. Let me get my screen situated here. If it looks like I'm not looking at you, it's because I have two screens. So I'm facing this way. So you're gonna get, I don't know if it's my good side or my bad side, but you're stuck with it. So there you go. Do you guys see my screen? It should be a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So as we had said, and maybe just for anyone who doesn't know me, for the purposes of introduction, my name is Adam Graham. I'm based on the West Coast, and I work in tuberculosis through Plan International Canada, largely on the global side. So working and accompanying our partners primarily in West Africa, East Africa, and Central America on community-based tuberculosis delivery. So that's a bit in terms of introduction for myself. In terms of our organizational budget so far, and this is the document that Robin and Lee have been working on. My kind of link into this is through the fundraising committee. So my interest is sort of trying to build a good fundraising base for Stop TB Canada to be able to do the work that it wants to do. Basically, the organizational budget right now, just to be clear, a budget is aspirational, obviously, and we don't actually have this revenue that I'm going to speak to right now. This is it's all budgeted as planned activities, but there's no sort of funds to back it up yet. So in terms of the sort of budget areas that we have right now, we have sort of business and activities costs. So everything that we want to do in terms of actual activities, this is sort of what we're looking at. And then we also have the operational costs, and this is, you know, the kind of bricks and mortar stuff, HR, and I'll get into a little bit of the details in a second. In terms of the business and activities costs, we're looking at budgeting about 47,000. I think actually that might be a little bit more, 50,000 if I'm right in terms of the pitch document. And that's really focusing on annual member meetings, World TB Day advocacy tour, annual conference attendance, for example, the Union, CCGH, the McGill Summer Institute, and a bit on knowledge translation for the CAT people on TB prevention, stakeholder engagement, and community support. Robin, Lee, do you either of you want to step in just to give any kind of life to some of those activities? You're sort of more involved in the details of it.
Yeah, no, I think we can wait till to get questions from others if anybody has questions. But yeah, just to reinforce that really this is we spent last year, the annual report that we just shared really framed as a year of reinvigorating the network. And our plan this year is like a soft launch, pilot launch, delivery on all of these activities that we want to participate in. It's going to be a very shoestring budget this year because everything's happening in the digital world right now. So there isn't a ton of cost attached with these activities, but we are anticipating the world opening back up one day and being able to do more of these activities face-to-face rather than just solely digitally. So the idea is to hopefully start to bring in resources for Stop TB Canada, so that it's no longer just purely a volunteer-run network, but something that has some sustainability under the hood in terms of being able to continue to operate on an annual basis. And yeah, I'll hand it back over to you, Adam.
Thanks, Robin. And so, as Robin was saying, the idea is to, when we can, get into the space where we can actually resource a bit more of the operational costs, and that would include things like positions. So, for example, an executive director position as well as a project officer position to be able to do a lot of the work that is essential to Stop TB Canada and carry out, not only these activities, but sort of become the sustainable link to Stop TB Canada for the foreseeable future. Also involved in those operational costs are communication and advocacy tools and some basic stuff around the website. So, keeping the digital presence open and being able to have that as something to use for Stop TB Canada. Getting into a little bit of the pitch document. And so this is something that I think Lee and Robin and maybe others contributed to it too. Sorry if I'm missing anyone on that. But basically the idea of a pitch document in terms of fundraising is really to have a kind of basis for being able to pitch an idea or pitch a set of ideas to funders who will provide hopefully that funding through a proposal process, or be it a kind of sole source proposal or a competitive process, whatever the case may be. But it allows us to sort of get our name out there a little bit and attach some dollars, some real proposals to some of the budgeted figures that we have in mind. And so just in terms of what this pitch document looks like, it's basically composed of a little bit about sort of what Stop TB Canada is, the impact that we expect to have, kind of some of the mission and vision pieces. And then it also includes a second piece on how we work. And so, these are some of the basic statements that you've probably seen before in the past around, what our mobilization work looks like, what our influencing work looks like related to TB policies and so on and so forth in Canada as well as globally. And then thirdly, it brings in a little bit of space to talk about some of the actual costs associated with the activities that we would like to fundraise for. And so this gets into a little bit of the stuff that Robin was talking about. Robin, I don't know if you want to give any sort of voice to some of these activities that are in there.
Sure, yeah. So the way that we think that this could operate on a recurring annual basis is sometime in Q4 of every year, host some sort of large annual member meeting. So bringing in anybody who's engaged in our network to share information, share lessons learned, do some skills training, capacity building type work. So we'll design that on a year basis, something like a 2 to 3 day thing. And at that, we would prioritize starting to workshop and brainstorm what specific advocacy asks we might want to elevate during World TB Day in Q1 of the forthcoming year. And just to say that we always want to be elevating a domestic ask and always a global ask. So making sure that we have both those voices at the table and a diversity of different stakeholders there as well. So that's the first item line. Then the second item line is an annual World TB Day advocacy tour. So this could include things like parliamentarian receptions, engagement at, say, the McGill TB Research Day on an annual basis, stakeholder engagement based on our targets for any advocacy, some community-led initiatives, some fun TB trivia nights, who knows, we'll create it on an annual basis, however makes most sense. And then, conference attendance. So there's brand awareness, thought leadership being led by the network, knowledge translation. That would be a community funded project to translate academic research into policy and practice, drawing on our community and financing somebody in the community to do that. And same with community support. That would be a project that would be supporting the community as well, that we could, say every year we wanted to open up the grant application process on World TB Day, we could do that, or we could announce the grant recipient every World TB Day, not sure. But yeah, this is just a high level of some of the key pieces of work we could do on a recurring annual basis if we had the funds to do so.
Thanks, Robin. So I think, the only remaining bit on this was to kind of, and I don't know, please cut me off because this could actually be a very long discussion. I guess there's some questions that we've been wrestling with within the group, which is essentially how do we prioritize our priorities in terms of fundraising, right? So we have these priorities that are sitting there, which is great, but how do we sort of stitch together this quilt of funding that we need need to have. So if we need $5,000 here and we need $8,000 there, then which are the areas that we should really kind of work on first as a way of giving us some direction as a network in terms of where we can go. And so I guess, some of the things that we had discussed already were how can we best engage this network, everyone here, the brain trust that is Stop TB Canada to help support us in prioritizing these fundraising efforts. So, can we kind of solicit feedback through this group, through, say, for example, a special meeting to really dig into the details, maybe a survey, some tool that that will allow us to do that. And then looking at some of those lists in that last slide, where are in that investment case, are there any initial thoughts on which items to prioritize, just sort of based on the description that Robin provided? And given that information, then that would kind of give us the green light from the fundraising committee to really move toward soliciting funds for some of this and writing proposals and getting to that stage of actually doing some of that work. So yeah, so that's it for me. I don't know if in terms of discussion facilitation, Robin or Lee, either of you want to take it over.
Yeah, let's just hear from others. What do people generally think? Is there anything glaringly missing from there? Is there anything like, ooh, that seems, questionable? Like, just wanting to hear from others really about the direction of where the steering committee is going with this project as like a next phase for what maybe needs to happen. And people can just raise their hands, ask any questions about anything so far, or unmute and jump right in. Lisa, are you unmuted? Courtney, do you want to come in and speak to your comment in the chat?
Yeah, sorry, my dogs are being a little bit noisy, so I was just on mute. Yeah, I do think that prioritizing the operating expenses, if we had to choose, would be kind of optimal, because getting someone hired to kind of run the show and get the activities going is kind of more challenging, but probably I don't know how to just like in a total brain fog over here. Just more strategic, I think, to do it that way, because if you start funding the activities on like an ad hoc basis or fundraising, just to do these like kind of one-off annual things, that might be as far as it ever goes without the manpower behind it. So yeah, that's just my pitch, but it's definitely much more challenging, I think, to get an operating budget.
Thanks, Courtney. Anyone else? Any thoughts? Maybe we could also do like just a quick pulse check. So most people are on Zoom, so you can use an emoji. If you're generally like, oh yeah, this kind of makes sense as a direction for Stop TB Canada network, can you like put your thumbs up emoji? Or if, yeah, okay. Susan, yeah, okay, I'm seeing thumbs. Okay. All right, so give it like, anybody else want to chime in? Now's your chance to take the mic. It's lovely to hear from others before we move on to our next agenda. Okay, we'll leave it at that. But if there's anybody on this call who is like, ooh, I think I could maybe support or help progress this piece of work, or maybe I know of where some funding could come from, that's our next step, is like trying to identify where to maybe find resources to support this type of work. So if anybody has any leads, so to speak, please do reach out to us because we will take all the support from the community that we can get, because that's why networks and coalitions are effective.
Awesome. Thanks, Robin and Adam. Next, we'll just be continuing that conversation of looking ahead to this next year. So Robin's just going to give us a high-level overview of what we're planning on doing this quarter and then next quarter as well, including the launch of our Survivors Network. So Robin, over to you.
Sure, thanks, Lee. So Q1 of this year, we focused on planning and delivering on a successful World TB Day. And it was definitely successful in that it was a record year in terms of seeing monuments lit up and a very great first opportunity for Stop TB Canada to introduce itself to a number of parliamentarians and decision makers. So that was awesome. Lots of great activities led by a number of us on this call. Let's do clapping emoji for that. For this quarter, we're really focusing on building the network now. So we've got a new Facebook group created called TB Conquerors for TB survivors, people currently living with TB, and any of their carers. So we really want to build up that community. Priya, who is on our steering committee and is a TB conqueror herself, is supporting us to do that. But if anybody has anybody that is a TB conqueror affected directly by TB, it would be great to have your support in starting to drive traffic to that Facebook group. It's a safe space for connecting, supporting one another, sharing information and opportunities, and starting to do some collaborative advocacy together. I'm going to just share my screen so you can see how to do that. So this is our awesome website. If you click join us, there is an option to click here to join our Facebook group for those affected by TB in Canada. And that is set up now and ready for people to engage in. So Priya is going to be leading on this with the support of others. I just want to raise it to everybody's awareness so you can support. Also, if you are not yet part of our directory, please do sign up for that. Just click here under join us. Join our directory. There's a form that you can fill in. This will allow us to start identifying and mapping out who's engaged in this fight to end TB at home and abroad and is based in Canada at the moment, and will allow us to build a portfolio of people who are willing to do media outreach, media engagement, or be engaged for different speaking opportunities as well. We'll amplify your work, we'll creep to learn more about your work so that we can really tap into you as a resource when it makes sense, and you can of course always tap into us as a resource. So this quarter, all about building the network. Next quarter is going to be starting to plan that annual member touch point. So that will be a capacity skill building opportunity, an opportunity to come together and hopefully coordinate our efforts, etc. So that's kind of where we're going. Obviously, progressing with the financing side of things too, so that we can build Stop TB Canada into its own sustainable entity is another priority. So we can start implementing that work plan the start of Q4 of this year. Okay, Petra, have I missed anything? You were at some of the most recent looking ahead calls too, or anybody else on the steering committee, did I miss anything about where we're going?
Since you called me out, I will just say congratulations to all of you who have been talking, because I think you've done a really good job presenting from what has been happening in the first quarter. And I can't believe that all of this stuff has happened and it's only April. So I think well done. I'm personally really excited about the COVID survey that is happening. I think that is a hugely important piece of work where I feel that if anyone has any connections with healthcare workers or is working in the TB field within an NGO or knows people who have had TB in the last year, really to get an idea. We know anecdotally that the impact of COVID is not just outside our borders, it is really also happening here in Canada. A lot of staff are being diverted to the COVID response, which is of course normal and necessary, but it doesn't help with our sustainability of the TB program. So to document that and to make that a clear point that we want to show to Health Canada, PHAC, who are hard to reach also because they are so busy with COVID, understandably. So I think that piece is for me really where I hope that we can rally some of the people engaged in tuberculosis in this call to help us out and make it a strong message that when we get the data from some of the program managers we have, but that we really get a lot more from healthcare workers and patients. So that would be the one piece that I would highlight, Robin, but I think you've done an amazing job, Lena, Robin, Adam, thank you all for everything that you've presented so far.
And Lena, is there a way that those on this call can help with the survey right now?
Yeah, so I've posted the staff and patient surveys in the chat. I can repost them just because it's gone further up now. But yeah, it'd be great if anyone's involved as TB program staff, it would be great if they could answer and also share with their patients if possible.
Awesome. Okay, so this is going to be the last time everyone hears from me on this call, but wanted to say also that Stop TB Canada in the past couple of months had a first meeting with the Minister of Health's Chief of Staff, and we also had our first meeting with Global Affairs Canada at the request of Minister Karina Gould. So that's worth celebrating too. We're starting to make important introductions with decision makers and already being really well respected in those spaces because we have such a great depth of knowledge to be able to draw on from within our steering committee and the wider network. So I think now's the time to hear from others, and I'll pass it back over to you, Lee.
Perfect. Thanks, Robin. Yeah, so we'll open up for an open discussion now. If anyone has anything to add or comment on to what we were speaking to before, or if you would like to bring up any of the work that you're currently doing, any work you'd like to collaborate on, or if you're new to the network, you can use this opportunity to introduce yourself and what your work is specifically. So anyone that would like to speak, you can use the raise hand icon, or you can just unmute yourselves. And Lena has just shared that survey information in chat for anyone who is a healthcare worker working in TB or knows someone affected by TB. We'd really appreciate if you can share with your networks.
Hi there. Sorry, I have just a quick question. I'm just kind of new to Stop TB. And so I'm just kind of learning on the fly before joining this presentation. So far, awesome. I'm just trying to kind of catch up on what everything means and where you guys are at. I just curious on a fundraising aspect, have you guys reached out to other organizations to help support in terms of funds like Rotary International? Because Rotary does do local assistance and charities as well as international assistance. And some community groups, because Rotary clubs are multiples in certain cities and communities, they always look for, you know, a new local charity to help out or organization to help out funds. And they do a lot of like matching and they always welcome educational presentations too during their meetings. I know it's a bit different now during COVID, but I don't know if that was ever considered.
Thank you. That's really good information to know. I am not aware of anything with that organization. Petra, are you aware of anything that we've been working on?
I think we haven't started reaching out really to anyone specifically, and I think Rotary is a great suggestion. There are many local foundations in Canada that I think I could think of. It's too bad that Adam had to drop out for another call because he's really our brain in the fundraising, so he would be able to help us direct that much more. But Chanel, thank you so much for bringing that up. I really think there are plenty, and Rotary, from what I know, they do have separate pockets. So even if they would fund maybe one or two activities, that definitely is an option where I think we can start looking at their grant mechanisms that they have. So that's a really great suggestion. And I think that's also where we roughly are in this stage to now identify what are potential donation opportunities. So if anyone else has ideas or suggestions, I think we would love to hear that. But so thanks so much.
Anyone else have anything to add, to introduce yourselves, just general feedback? If not, that's totally fine. I'll just close by saying thank you to everyone who made time to come today, and I'll also just continue reaching out if you have any resources or op-eds. Like I mentioned, we're happy to add any of your publications to our website, and I'll just plug our directory one more time, and I'll put that in the chat as well. If you're not part of the directory, it's a great opportunity to just have an overview of everyone in Canada that's working in the TB space, advocates, researchers, practitioners, survivors. So definitely check that out if you haven't. And if no one else has anything to say, then I think that we will just leave the meeting there today. Thank you so much again.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.